When she was murdered, it felt like my heart had been ripped out. And the way she was murdered, that really did cut me up bad.
Losing my 4-year-old cousin was murdered last year, and only now do I really know what it's like, and it haunts you.
It was heartbreaking for me, very heartbreaking. My life's never been the same and never will be. And like the other family, a few of them cannot talk about it, not even her dad. He still can't talk about it.
You absolutely have no idea of the horror, the devastation and the pain of knowing that that person has taken your child's life and you're never going to see them again.
Her brother, her sister, they find it very hard to know they're not going to see her again, and they just can't get their heads around it. Why?
My name's Teresa Cave. I am a victim peer support worker for Victim Support and Child Bereavement UK, which means I go around supporting victims of violent crime and families who've lost loved ones to murder and manslaughter. I'm also just a simple mother of a murdered child, just like your age. He was 17 when he was murdered, and I've dedicated my life since his murder to coming round and helping to prevent any of you being murdered, stabbed or opposite, going to lifting knives and using them against other people. I'm doing this because it's the only thing that I believe Chris would want me to do, and I feel that by going into the schools, if we can just hit one child and save them from either picking up a knife and using it against someone or even deadlier, be murdered, then our job will be done.
It was just on the news recently that Teesside has a really high knife crime rate, and we wanted to do something to protect the children from that. So education's the most powerful tool there. So I know that the presentation is quite hard hitting, but that's the best way to get the message across.
Only a fool would turn a blind eye to say that their communities aren't blighted by gang culture, knife crime, and at the very, very low level, antisocial behaviour. What Teresa did was she brought this into my students, highlighted the fact and broadened their horizons to the dangers and also the pitfalls of gang culture, and in particular the devastating effects of knife crime. Teresa's own personal story was told with emotion, it was told with a great deal of passion and empathy for her audience. The fact that she didn't want the audience to go through exactly what she went through.
This is my son, Chris. He was 17, he had a really good job. Christopher still tried to run and still tried to get away, and somewhere between the top of the stairs and the one way out that there was, he was stabbed through the heart.
I would say any group of young people and any group of people that are working with young people would benefit from this. If you're concerned about their safety, their well-being when they're out and about on the streets at night or any time, then POINT7 is a piece of work that they will benefit from. It's replacing TV, films, computer games with reality, really. Part of the presentation, in fact, are graphic images of real knife wounds, real gunshot wounds that are nothing like they see on TV.
50 Cent. I've been shot in the face. Have you seen what a beautiful smile he's got? If he'd been shot in the face, he would have looked like that. That's a bullet as it's been taken out of somebody. And you can see it's mushroomed, it's a metal jacket. It explodes, it takes everything through the body with the bullet. It doesn't just go through you and out the other side. It'll go through you, it'll take your teeth, your jaw, your cheek. It'll take whatever's in its way and it'll come out, usually like that, from the back.
We had a group of what they would call difficult to reach young people. Youth workers struggle to work with these young people, and they came to a POINT7 presentation. One young lad in particular sat on the front row. He refused to take off his hat. He refused to pull down the scarf that was covering his mouth and chin. And as he listened to Teresa's story, as she was telling about what happened to her son, I could see from the side this young lad was crying, tears were dripping from the end of his nose. And at the end of the presentation, he actually stood up and went and threw his arms around Teresa and hugged her. That young man's life was changed in a presentation.
It's the first time I have been to a presentation since Riley was murdered, and it blew me away. I cried like I haven't cried for a very long time watching Teresa. Hugely emotional, and that although she was very calm and she presented it brilliantly, the catch in her voice every time she said Chris's name and every time she caught Tom's eye was just heartbreaking.
Well, I had a little cry in the middle when I realised she had actually lost her son to knife crime. So I think that by the end of it I was really aware of how many people it affects. Like, a knife crime incident can affect anything over 250 people per person that's affected. So that means that a lot of people know someone who's been affected by knife crime and how their lives changed because of it. So I think that it's a very harrowing experience to see how someone's affected by knife crime.
She was my baby anyway, and to take her away, how she was taken away, I just, even today, I can't get over it. You have your good days, you still have your bad days, and for one of your children to be murdered, it is just horrendous.
A young 9-year-old girl was in a school with a pink pretty penknife that her dad had brought her to protect her against bullies. What impact would that have on a 9-year-old girl if she actually used that and caused fatal wounds to a child?
It doesn't help when you're still conscious. Most people panic when they see blood spurting out their neck. But the panic doesn't last long. Usually you're dead within a minute.
So he said you're usually dead within a minute. Now, who thinks there's a safe place on the body to be stabbed? Where would you say was the safest place to be stabbed on a body? And your leg is the most dangerous place to be stabbed because you're having your femoral artery running down your leg. It takes 80 seconds to die once that artery is punctured. 80 seconds. Yeah, you have arteries, you defence wounds, you probably survive that. But nowhere is safe to be stabbed, really, is it? Nowhere.
I didn't realise it happened quite so broadly and to a lot of younger people as well that maybe aren't in gangs.
It was very moving and emotional.
It could happen, couldn't it? It's a big world. Well, I didn't know that many people got stabbed and carry knives, so I wasn't really aware of it.
You will find after going through the programme, young people will have a stronger feeling, shall we say, for the reality. They will have a deeper sympathy for the victims, and they'll have a clearer understanding of how not to become victims themselves, how not to fall foul of the law. And it's really a consequences programme. Not thinking things through is what gets you into trouble. Not thinking of the consequences of what you are going to do. And this shows them how thinking something through before it even happens could in fact save their life.
Yeah, definitely. I won't go around near gangs and maybe be a lot more conscious being out on my own.
Didn't realise that that many people carry weapons about with them to keep safe, and it happens to them.
I'll tell them how many people get stabbed and what the consequences are about it, and I won't go with as many people or near as many people.
I'll be a lot more aware of where I'm going and who I'm going to be with, so everyone knows where I am.
My students got an outstanding presentation. It made them go away and think about their position in society and where their role is as good citizens.
It made me feel sort of bad, but sort of good at the same time because of how much strength it's given Teresa. I think that she's a very good influence for the backing of anti-knife crime and where she can push it to change people's perceptions on knife crime.
It's such an emotional thing to watch because there are actually images of real people who've been affected, real victims who are no longer with us. It is really heart-rending to watch. A majority of the people watching, whether they be young people, older people, were literally physically affected, by which I mean tears were shed. Sobbing was experienced, which really was not only moving, but really memorable. And as sensitive as it was, it got the message home.
It has affected them, it does change them. They've, in front of me from time to time, made pledges never to carry a knife, never to be violent again. So we know it works.
By the end of it, everyone's mindset was changed by the presentation. And I think that everyone had seen something different about knife crime and how close it is to our community.
And I would thoroughly recommend it to any school, college or higher education establishment.
We get a lot of interaction off them, which is great, especially the boys. They love to interact, ask questions, find out facts. If we can give them facts that they didn't know before, so when they go out they can say, hey, you're carrying a knife, that you'll get 4 years in jail for doing that. That's fantastic that, you know, the word's getting out there. After that, all I want to ask you to do is give me 3 more minutes of your time, and I want you to watch this slideshow and listen to the words. And every child and every person on here has been murdered by a gun or a knife. Every single one of them, from the tiniest baby to the oldest person. And the majority of these people I've been through and helped families over the years. And I just hope that you'll take something home with you from it.
In my profession, I see death, bereavement, grief every day. I believe that those people who actually are able to see and witness the POINT7 presentation make them more aware. I think maybe the long-term effect will mean that people like myself in my profession will deal less with families like Teresa and hers and deal less with people like Christopher.
A lot of people don't want to talk to their children, but imagine, if you can, never being able to speak to them again.
And I don't want another parent to go through what I've been through. And I think POINT7 should be shown to all schools and youth clubs.